If you are planning to order in tonight or perhaps go somewhere using an e-hailing service app, I'm afraid you are going to have to find alternative arrangements. E-hailing drivers are continuing their strike action. This is despite a meeting that the Gauteng Transport MEC says yielded positive results last night. Trade unions have now also joined the strike. They're calling for government regulation and bigger profit sharing. Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones is following that story and he joins me now. Pule, thank you so much for joining us. So we know that last night the MEC for Transport was trying to meet with the e-hailing drivers. What do you know about what's on the table? Because we're not hearing anything from the e-hailing services such as Uber and Bolt. So it's very difficult to know where negotiations are.
Well, yes, definitely. What we understand is that there was a meeting between the e-hailing, drivers, of course, being represented by an organization called Unity in Diversity, in which they represented them and tabled some of their demands. But it seems as though they were not quite happy with the feedback they had gotten from the MEC of Transport in Gauteng, Jacob Amabolo. But subsequent to that, we do understand that now this organization is saying that the MEC has conceded to the fact that the previous mediation process, which took place around 2021, did fail. And now what we understand is that the organization is expecting a report from the MEC's office in which it will detail how it can come up with an intra-model committee, which would involve the Department of Trade and Industry and, of course, the Department of Transport to try and meet the disgruntled e-hailing drivers halfway and ensure that they can return back to work. But while this is the case, I've tried to get a comment from Bolt. They say that they are aware of the ongoing strike and they are also supporting it as long as it's peaceful. And while we tried that as well, we tried to get comment from Uber, but they haven't actually gotten back to us. They did say that they would get back to us. And what we also now understand, which is quite an interesting development, Sally, is that now SATAWU and COSATU has placed their support behind the organization Unity in Diversity, of course, and they're saying that they will join them on a mass protest, which is expected to take place anytime from either tomorrow and Friday, to try and help them, get their grievances loud and get their grievances out to the relevant departments, which may then come to the table and listen to their demands. But I just wanted to take a listen to one of the members of SATAWU, Mr. Zico, who told us what would be the way forward as the unions now join the e-hailing drivers in trying to get their message come across clearly.
We met with the e-hailing workers last week. They told us of our plight and we felt that their issues are our issues. The exploitation in the industry is the same as workers in all our sectors who are organizing are facing. Issues of collective bargaining and the question of health and safety that are affecting them, affect our members, and also they are in the transport sector broadly. So as a transport union, we have to stand up with them, and in future we are going to make sure that their issues are integrated with those of our own members in terms of the sectors we are organizing and fight this battle together. And we are happy that also today the Federation COSATU asked us to make sure that the e-hailing workers communicate their message clearly to COSATU so that COSATU can support them, starting with tomorrow in terms of the marches, in terms of the mass meetings they will be holding tomorrow. COSATU will be sending comrades to talk to them, understand their issues, and ensure that as the Federation, we embrace them, we wage the struggle together with them.
So there's real union support coming through now for the e-hailing drivers who've sort of been associating and grouping together themselves to try and find a way forward. But what are the e-hailing drivers themselves telling you?
Definitely, it seems like now there's a strategy to beef up the numbers and ensure that it's not only now a national strike, but the unions come on board to ensure that they can put pressure on the relevant departments. But while this is the case, we do understand that the e-hailing drivers are saying that, we're quite upset with the fact that this is not the first time we've handed over a memorandum at the MEC's office, being the MEC of Transport, Jacob Amabolo, and they're now calling for his removal. But subsequent to that, while this is the case, they are still pleading with the department to actually get into the sense of trying to eradicate exploitation within the industry and, of course, regulate the industry much more clearly with elements of having to ensure that there's safety when these e-hailing drivers are operating, and for clients as well. You'd remember, Sally, there's been a lot of complaints, particularly allegations that have been made against Bolt, whereby, female and women have come forward to say they were allegedly raped by some of the drivers while they were being taken home. And those are real concerns that these e-hailing operators are saying should be addressed and can only be addressed adequately when there's regulation and there's clear intervention from government at hand.
A position on that move, but we are saying mediation has failed. It's been a failed process of engagement. We had a meeting with the MEC whereby he also considered to the fact that there was a failed process. So if you are failing, we must take a decision as society to say we can't keep deploying failing mediation processes. We must take more affirmative action. We must be clear on the stance to protect the e-hailing sector and citizens and society at large.
Pule, what does all this mean for the consumers? Certainly, if I'm looking at the Uber app, they're saying expect longer estimated time of arrival. So there's a big delay if you are trying to use any of those services. But in the long run, should consumers expect these e-hailing services to actually get more expensive?
Definitely, Sally. And before I can touch on that, now you're getting two parallel messages where the companies, e-hailing companies, are saying this strike will end on Thursday, which is tomorrow, and that as from Friday, then clients can expect operations to be normal. But you're getting aggrieved e-hailing drivers who are saying that's not the case. In fact, we're expecting government to come back to us, and if nothing is on the table that we can agree upon, this strike will continue. I can tell you now they've given the MEC of Transport 48 hours to meet them and present to them a better mediation process which will speak to their problems. But while this is the case, when you talk to the issue of prices, clients are bearing the brunt of this whole strike. I can tell you something right now, Sally, from a trip that will cost you 8 minutes away, which is usually 46 Rand, is now costing around 130 Rand, which is quite expensive for someone who's relying on e-hailing transporting services. But this can only come to an end when drivers finally reach an agreement with the relevant parties, which includes the Department of Trade and Industry and, of course, the Department of Transport.